All right, glad to have you back. Environmental degradation and oil spills were the major reason for agitations and hostilities in the Niger Delta region over the years.
But in 2016, the cleanup of Ogoni land in Rivers State, recommended by the United Nations Environment Program, was inaugurated by Vice President Yemi Osinbajo. An action that was welcome and lauded by Niger Deltans 2 years after Niger Delta leaders and stakeholders are lamenting the slow pace of the cleanup.
But what exactly is delaying the project? We'll try to look at that now. We still have with us in the studio Dr. Ogoni to look at the slow pace of the Ogoni cleanup. And joining us in Port Harcourt as well is the Executive Director, Environmental Rights Action Friends of the Earth, Godwin Ojo. Good morning to you, Godwin. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you for having me. Good morning.
Good morning. Now, first off, let me start with you, Godwin. How do you feel about the slow pace of the cleanup in Ogoni land?
I want to express completely that we are completely disappointed. The Ogonis are disappointed. The entirety of Nigerians are disappointed that our hope has been dashed. 2016, everybody expected cleanup to start. The cleanup did not start. 2017, the same. There was no cleanup. Now, 2018, we are hearing conflicting news, conflicting reports, whether the cleanup will start this year or not. August has come and gone, no cleanup. And government officials are now saying December. And this is unfortunate.
Really, truly. Okay, let's bring it back to Dr. Ojo right here in the studio. Minister of State for the Environment, Ibrahim Usman, actually promised that come August, Ogoni cleanup will begin in earnest. Now, according to Godwin Ojo there in Port Harcourt studio, it's not looking like it's going to be December. How committed really do you think this government is to the whole Ogoni cleanup project?
Fantastic, because, you know, we raised the question in the intro, and what is keeping it at this pace? It is lack of political will. That was the same thing that happened between 2011 and 2011 when the report was made public,
the UNEP report,
and 2015 when the last administration left. Because we knew prosperity at that point in time, we could make commitment and get it started. But there was no commitment, because an average politician may want to think that, okay, because they need in the next 5 years of the cleanup, the first phase of the cleanup, they will need about $1 billion. So in their head, they are thinking that if we have a resources like this, maybe they could commit it to any other thing. But they have forgotten the fact that this is where between 1976 and 1991, the kind of oil spillage that happened in Ogoni land recorded about 40%, accounted for about 40% of the total spill of shell across the world. So it's a disaster. It's a major one. And until government is beyond political rhetorics that, oh, we are going to start. They actually laid emphasis on August ending. That's what I want us to take note of, that by the end of August. But are you starting cleanup, or you want to continue with planning? Because as far as I know, there were a number of things that have begun on the books. We have seen trainings at a point. About 36 people who were technical assistants were also trained in Gokana. There was a program that was done at a point in time. I cannot remember. So are you talking about planning, or you are talking about real rehabilitation of the land?
That's the huge question there. Godwin, let me come back to you now. In September 2017, Vice President Yemi Osinbajo gave reasons for the delay in cleaning Ogoni land, saying that it was for the government to lay a solid foundation so that there would be a smooth, cleanup process. In essence, don't you think that planning usually takes the whole bulk of a project so that you have a seamless process?
The cleanup itself is going to take 25 years to 30 years. So in all of these phases, cleanup and planning processes will continue. What we are asking is, where is the 1 year work plan? Where is the 3 years work plan? Where is the 5 years work plan? Where is the 10 years work plan? These are not on the table. I want to emphasize that the membership of Shell, that caused the problem, membership of the governing council, membership of the board of trustees, has compromised this process. And this is part of what is eroding the political will to act.
Let me remain with you, Godwin Ojo. Some stakeholders are saying that there's nothing on ground to actually indicate that government really is prepared to take off with the cleanup of Ogoni land. Are you able to give us a clear idea of exactly what is on ground as far as preparations are concerned?
Yes, of course. What we have now is community disappointment, community expectations has been dashed. What we have on ground, High Prep claim that they have trained about 40 youths, but that is highly insignificant. The president and government officials claim that they have narrowed down the contractors, about 140 contractors, but the selection process for the cleanup is inconclusive. So this planning process cannot last a lifetime. And we are calling on the government to exercise serious political will to ensure that the cleanup process commences immediately. 2016, we expect that the cleanup will have started. You don't start talking about cleanup without planning, but they are all inclusive. And these are the issues. Now, the emergency issues that we're supposed to proceed to start before the cleanup is not there. Alternative water is not provided, and people are continue to drink benzene water, 900 times above World Health Organization. Some farmers now, when they cut their yam and they harvest, or they catch fish, when they split it open, it is smelling hydrocarbon. And UNEP report recommended the provision of alternatives, and these alternatives are not on the table for the Ogonis. So the livelihood question has not been addressed. The environmental component, they are spending forever in planning. This is unacceptable to Nigerians.
All right, stay with us, Godwin. We'll get back to you in a bit. Dr. If you recall, Vice President Oshibajo at one time, I think it was when he was acting president way back, gave an order to international oil companies to relocate to the Niger Delta, that if they were there, they would have empathy at least, so they would better know how to handle the environment and the people.
And they disobeyed him.
Till now,
nothing happened. You see, that's the same thing that happened when the issue of SSS people and all that came up, that people were asking whether he actually consulted with the president and all that. I think more than talking, there's the need for us to be very systematic and strategic. You cannot just order these people to move if you haven't done your homework. And that means that the government really did not do its homework very well before it ordered them to move.
What government should have done? Exactly. What exactly should
if you had done your homework very well, number one, the first thing they complained about was security. You do not expect the oil company in the first place to cater for their own security. It is the government that's supposed to do that. And there were a number of things also that they talked about. But if government actually knew that it was right at that point, it could have forced them to relocate. But that's not even the issue in this case. Even if they had been on ground, we will still have issues of these Ogoni people. Do you know how I know? In the last few months now, I think, or in the last few years, I think they've been able to, in the part of the first tranche of the 1 billion naira needed is about $200 million. And it should come from NNPC and the IOC, International.
Yes.
Now, as we speak now, they have about $180 million waiting for the $20 million from local refineries. Though you may want to ask me who are the local refineries, because in my head I'm thinking local refineries are also part of NNPC. So if we have $180 million on ground, if government had been sincere from the beginning, if the intention of this government was not to play politics in 2016, then by now we should have begun something.
All right, let me take it to Godwin Ojo there in Port Harcourt. Yes, clearly the IOCs we hear have not even remitted their own, their counterpart funding. Is government handling the IOCs with kid gloves or with levity? I mean, after the acting president then, Yemi Oshibajo, ordered that they should move their headquarters to the Niger Delta. And then, of course, they have funds that they're supposed to remit, and they've not done that.
I already mentioned very clearly that the membership of Shell in the governing council and in the board of trustees is an anomaly, and they are using that as a compromise to protect damages to the organization. So if Shell is responsible for the mess they have created in Ogoni, then they shouldn't be members of the oversight functions. I strongly believe that the government is treating the oil companies with kid gloves, even something of complicity on the part of government. I don't agree with my colleague Dotun that the federal government did not do their homework. We are looking at the sovereignty of Nigeria. The sovereignty of Nigeria against corporate impunity. The impunity is so severe and glaring that a federal government will make a proclamation, an order, if you like, talking to oil companies to relocate. And you are talking about whether they did not consult or consulted. Who did President Obama consult when he gave an order in the cleanup of the Mexico and say it should be done immediately with $20 million put on the table in less than a few hours?
And they did it, but in our own case, they disobeyed.
It lacks environmental laws, the environmental issues. So we are looking at the relationship of the federal government with the oil companies, which is one of dependency. And that is a problem. Nigerian economy is oil dependent, and the companies have the upper hand all the time when it comes to environmental issues, environmental degradation, and cleanup. That is the situation we are in.
Okay, Godwin.
But if the government step up its political will, then there will be, this problem will continue to arise.
Godwin, so in essence, you are not confident in any way that not now or not ever would the federal government be sincere in cleaning up Ogoni land or even the Niger Delta areas that have been experiencing oil spillage? Is that what you're saying?
Well, 7 years down the line and no cleanup, not a drop of oil has been cleaned. So what we are asking is, when will the first drop of oil be cleaned up? So the Ogonis are tired and we are tired. This is a note of warning to High Prep and all those who are behind the delay that enough is enough. Civil society and the Ogonis will not continue to take this anymore. I just want to also flag the second issue that is very important.
Yes.
The whole essence of the Ogoni cleanup remains a minority question. It is because the Ogonis are minority, the voice are voiceless. This is why we are having this problem continuously. And nobody wants to take the responsibility to act. How many times will the governing board meet? How many times will the board of trustees meet? Is it in meetings that you are going to solve these problems? Have you requested UNEP as technical partners? The UNEP that knows the technical know-how, they are sidelined. They are sidelined in this process. So everybody is jostling how to get the contractors and all that. It's about money. No, we need to manage the people's expectation. This is not being done.
All right.
High Prep is coming up and giving their evaluation and say that they are planning. When will planning end? And when will the first drop of oil be cleaned in Ogoni? That is the question Nigerians are asking.
Very important question there. And High Prep, of course, is the hydrocarbon pollution remediation project. And according to them, the fund's already domiciled in the Ogoni Cleanup Trust Fund. So it's not even a question of money now. But do you agree with some of the issues that Godwin has raised there about, this endless meetings and all of that?
Yes, let me begin from the minority question.
And the
because
minority
it
question,
actually
yes.
caught my attention.
Yes.
The state of the Ogoni land now is not a product of whether they are minority. If you have traveled around the world, Ogoni people are even more popular than some of the majority tribe because the world has heard their story.
Absolutely.
The world is interested in their story. It's just a question of irresponsibility. It's just a question of irresponsibility on the part of government.
Right.
And I need to hammer this. When he made mention of the Obama administration, the government made a directive, gave a directive, and within days, everybody aligned. It's because a government who is responsible. But in our own case, we ask people, don't pass BRT lane, for example. And when they pass it, we rub them on the head. And that's the case. And that's why I cannot imagine that a federal government of Nigeria, one of the most powerful governments in the world, will give a directive to an oil company and they will disobey.
And now, have we gone back to sleep? Have we gone back to sleep now that we're pumping 2.25 million barrels per day from the 1.4 million when the whole Niger Delta crisis was going on?
We have gone, in fact, we are deep asleep and we are dreaming now, as we are now. Because the only thing that means anything to government is let the money keeps coming in. I told you about the story of MMM generation. It's just more money. That's what government is thinking about. And it makes it more annoying that between 2011 and 2015, for example, you had a president who understood the language of the people, who came from that zone, who knew prosperity more than any other president in Nigeria. And he said a bad precedent. The only thing they did was this hydro project that they started in 2012. That was the only thing they did between 2011 and 2015. Now another government came aboard. Hastily, they went because, I don't know, maybe because of political reason, to flag off cleanup. And they didn't explain to the people that what we are coming to, they should have done it in Abuja. If what they were flagging up was cleanup planning.
And not the cleanup
the real cleanup. They should have done it in Abuja, but they took the message to the people. And the people understood them, believed them, and now they've dashed the hope of the people.
Okay.
So it's lack of responsibility,
Godwin.
height of irresponsibility.
Okay, Godwin, let me come to you.
Yes.
HIPREP's member, one of the members of the Board of Trustees of HIPREP, Mike Emu, says the project is at the demonstration stage, and that, in fact, quoting him, he says the project was delayed due to issues of locating a site where the waste could be dumped and be converted to energy, and other factors including economic recession and challenges. Is that not a valid point? Because if you clean up a space and you pick up all the dirt,
and
where do you take the dirt
it
to? Won't it be another problem that will be created at the long run if you just dump anywhere?
That statement is lamentable, and it boils down to ignorance and lack of planning in the cleanup process. You don't talk about dumping waste when you are cleaning up Ogoni. There's nothing going to be like waste dumping. But that is exactly what is going to happen, which is highly unfortunate. We are looking for experts to handle the cleanup. And when they collect this waste, they're going to treat it. And when they treat it, the question of disposal and dumping it on site will not arise.
Godwin,
so these are the issues we are looking at. Are you going to use the old system?
Godwin,
are you going to use the old system you are using in the Niger Delta or spade and bucket?
Godwin,
are you
let's
going
clarify.
to just use spade and bucket and dump it? Yes.
Godwin,
yes.
Let's clarify. What Mike was saying in essence was that they just don't want to pick the dirt and dump somewhere else. That they want to put a system in place where they would refine the waste and turn it to energy.
I said that is complete ignorance, because the experts that will handle the cleanup will do the detoxification of the toxic, and they will handle it. It's not a different group. It's not a HIPREP that will do the waste handling. It is the same company that will do the cleanup, that will detoxify, that will handle remediation. All these things go hand in hand. I know what they are talking about. The Bodo cleanup, in conjunction with the Netherlands government, they already conducted cleanup in Bodo, and they have dumped it right in the heart of the city. They dump it in the city. So that is the kind of cleanup that they are anticipating. No, that is not the cleanup that experts will do. The cleanup will be detoxified. First of all, you remove all the elements of harm, and then you decide what to do with it, whether it's manure. If you are going to clean up, there is no question of buying land and dumping it somewhere. That does not arise.
Okay.
Let me say again, as my colleague said, this is question of irresponsibility. But I just want to highlight another point. Our Minister of State for Petroleum has Minister of Petroleum, has put the resumption of oil production in Ogoni as a condition for cleanup. Can you imagine our minister doing that and say, look, we are going to clean up, but we are going to resume oil production in Ogoni, when all the other issues that led to the stoppage in the first place have not been addressed. So this is not just mere politics that they are playing. I want to emphasize again the minority question. It's not a question that the issue are known. How influential is the Ogonis? How influential is the River State, the entire civil society, to bring pressure to bear on government?
Okay,
and put them on the spot to say you must act responsibly. I think that's the issue we are talking about when we talk about power relations and minority question.
All right, Godwin Ojo is emphasizing this minority question as, you know, what may be influencing the non-performance of, you know, when it comes to this Ogoni cleanup. That maybe there's no strong voice enough to actually speak for these people, to make government act as it should.
Okay.
Is that what's going on?
What other voice do you need if your zone produced the president of a nation? What other voice do you need? That's the question. Now, either we like it or not, one of the most influential people in this government is the Minister of State for Petroleum.
Yeah.
It's very influential. Though I did not hear him say, I did not hear, and I need to lay emphasis on that, I did not hear him put that as a precondition to the cleanup. I did not hear him say that. But again, the question we have with the Ogoni people is not just a national question. It's a global question, because either we like it or not, there was a time in 2008 or so that there was some group of people wanted to build a refinery, and that led to a committee that I was part of that actually went to look at the Ogoni land, to look at the degradation. And these people were not from within the country. They were selected from world bodies and organizations. So the question of whether we are minority is not there. It is just, number one, I know the government does not have the courage to say it, and I've been keeping it, that one of the things they want is for oil exploration to begin. Because everything we are thinking about goes back to the issue of money. Okay. They know if they can raise our daily production, for example, to 4 million barrels per day, that's going to mean more money for them. And that is the issue.
But let's even look at it this way, that it even took the report of an international body, United Nations report on, you know, the Ogoni problem, for the government to even consider this in the first place.
Wake up to it.
Does that even tell you anything, that the government even had to depend on a report from an independent body outside the country?
Yeah, of course, it's even a two-way thing, because if the government of Nigeria had prepared that report, the Ogoni people would not have accepted or believed, because over time, the government has given them reason to doubt. But now we have a report from which actually said this is going to take between 25 and 30 years, a cleanup exercise to do. But again, it is the duty of government. What is the contribution of the federal government in the first place in this entire thing? Because either we like it or not, Shell is the major culprit. Either we want to accept that or not. The contribution of the federal government in all this is just one thing, which is the political will to drive this. So everybody. And now you are going to ask yourself the question, now that we've even said that we want to start this cleanup, what is the role of the organization that did the report in the first place?
To start with, according to Godwin Ojo there, they've actually been sidelined. But then again, the same high prep that we're talking about, I mean, Godwin Ojo raised the issue of expertise when it comes to the excuse, if you like, that they're still looking for a good site to, you know, dump the waste after the cleanup, you know, happens. Is the expertise of high prep in doubt? Do you think?
I do not doubt the expertise of high prep, but again, I doubt their what is it called? Sincerity? Their technical thinking capacity. The difference between that is that, do they have the capacity to do this? Yes, they can. Do they have the 21st century capacity? Because at this point in time, we are talking technology. And a number of people have come out to say there's a better technological way of getting this issue resolved. And it's going to save us a lot. Apart from the fact that it's going to save us time.
But these IOCs are represented too. So are you saying that they are not internationally?
The IOCs, what are you talking about? The IOC? The IOCs that they give directive and they decided to ignore?
It now brings me to the question that, in the end of the day, like you said earlier, that it all evolves around political will. That there could be more to it than meets the eye.
If you have the political will, number one thing that you should have done is that the body that made this report, UNEP, should occupy a significant place
champion
in
the
the
cause.
entire cleanup process. What place are they occupying? Nothing. And that's why at the end of the day, that we like it or not, they are still going to be using their hand to rub some of these international oil companies in the head. Because they will threaten your government, either you like it or not, that, okay, for example, if they pull out of your economy, what is going to be the fate of the people?
Okay, so we really have, there really is a problem then. I'm talking about, government's commitment. Godwin Ojo, the project, this Ogoni cleanup is not, it wasn't captured in the 2016 budget, neither was it captured in the 2017 or even the 2018 budget. No. What does that really say to you?
The budget for 2018 provided for a paltry $20 million naira. And the Mosop and Ogoni people have raised an alarm to that. I think the height of irresponsibility is unfortunate. I understand what Dotun is saying, that it's not a minority question, but there's no way I can think of it that, as a situation where the victims are completely helpless and voiceless because their views are not taken on board. The government prefer to listen to the oil companies and government technocrats than to listen to experts and those that are suffering. So the issue will likely remain in this way. Right now, what Doto is insinuating is that the cleanup itself has been politicized. And that is a very difficult tangle to unravel. Okay. So I don't see government doing the right thing. I don't see high prep doing the right thing. The expertise that he says is there is not there. And the cleanup itself, when they are already talking publicly that they are going to dump waste somewhere. I want to quickly use this opportunity to talk to the Ogonis and the Niger Delta. Don't allow your land to be bought for any amount so that this waste will not be dumped in your backyard.
Okay, Godwin, so what options are available now to the Ogoni people on one side and the Niger Delta people to compel the government to do the needful in a peaceful manner?
We had a civil society meeting yesterday along with community members. They have given ultimatum to HIPREP to commence cleanup immediately, or they will face a civil society action that will be collective. So this is very important for them to understand that we are monitoring the process, and it's even in their own favor to commence this cleanup. Whatever politics, whatever grammar, whatever we are going to say, the ultimate is cleanup.
All right,
when
gentlemen.
Will this cleanup commence 2 years after?
The seeming voicelessness of the people of the Niger Delta as a possible reason why nothing really has been done as far as the Ogoni cleanup is concerned. But what would you say about people like Edwin Clark, elder statesman, and so many of the other people like himself who came up with this 16-point agenda or 16-point demand on government? You know, would you say that those people are actually voiceless? And how much of this 16-point demand really has been met as far as you're concerned?
Well, as far as we know, the 16 points was not a consensus. And some of the issues bordered on money politics, oil politics, and the Ogoni cleanup, as far as I can recollect, was not prioritized. So we are talking about resource control when you look at the 16-point agenda. But the whole essence is the demands could have been narrowed to just 2 or 3, which is number 1, clean up Ogoni and the entire Niger Delta. That's number 1. Then number 2, address the livelihood questions. And then we can take it off from there. So I think the money politics that is mixed with the demands is problematic. But that I don't mean to say that we don't talk, civil society don't occupy spaces, the issues are known globally, but I'm talking of key people in government. For example, the cleanup is compromised. I want to believe that because Shell is a member of the Board of Trustees. We need to look at that, and we have called for their immediate withdrawal. They need not be in the Governing Council or in the Board of Trustees with oversight function to clean up their own mess. That is a problem in Nigeria. Elsewhere else, in other shores of the world, they cannot be members of an oversight function agency.
All
This
right.
is an abnormality. So these are the issues we talk about when we talk about power relations.
Okay. Godwin Ojo, thank you very much for your analysis. You are the Executive Director of Environmental Rights Action. Thank you for joining us all the way from Port Harcourt. All right, now, yeah, Dr. Let's come to you. What are the implications of all of this, knowing that crude oil generation rose from nearly 1.4 million barrels per day to over 2 million barrels per day because of the, the calmness,
relative peace,
I want to say peace, in the Niger Delta region. So in the implications of maybe not intentionally ignoring the Ogoni people, in the process of cleanup.
We will have a major challenge to face in the future when people now wake up to the reality that money is not as important as the mission. Now, people are calm now because they can still get alerts. They can get alert in their bank account. They can come to Lagos and enjoy their life. But it's going to get, and those are the people, those are the majority of people who were causing crisis that led to the downward trend of our oil production. But either we like it or not, it's going to get to a point that some other people are going to rise up and take the mission so seriously. And what is the mission? The mission is restore our environment. You cannot continue to degrade at that point in time. It may be 20 years, it may be 30 years. It is then that the government will know that they actually have a lot of problem in their hand.
And you already have a situation where an ultimatum has been given to High Prep, to fix it, fix the Ogoni
yes, High Prep
or
is,
face civil action.
High Prep is still looking to the government. High Prep is a creation of government in 2012. It's still looking at the direction and the body language of the people at the top. So in other words, there's nothing, if IPREP can actually take action on its own, the money they have now, look at what Mr. Ojo said. He said, let us see that you have begun something. So the amount of money they have now should have taken them past the level of mere preparation to the real action. At least clean up one square meter and let the people see that at the end of the day, this is what you will see in your land, and the people will believe. So we have a major crisis in our hand that we do not know.
And the political year is inching in faster than you want to imagine. 2019 election is right around the corner. How is that even going to... That's the fear that the stakeholders have expressed too.
Yes, I'm believing and I'm hoping that the election will be a blessing for them rather than the fear that people have actually expressed. Because either we like it or not now, the people in power are looking for vote everywhere, including in their enemies' camp. So if that will mean more vote for them, then you will see that in December, if it takes them working 24 hours to ensure that at least the people can say something, they will do it.
Now, environmentalists have been, ramping up support, and they've been clamoring that this, apart from the Ogoni problem, other spillage across the Niger Delta region, that it should be an awakening sort of for the government and Nigerians to adopt a new legal framework for environmental protection. That it seems that they are not conscious of how important the environment is.
We've never been conscious of how the environment, and it's not just a product of oil spillage. Generally, it's our lifestyle. We felt that the environment will naturally take care of itself. So that's why people drink water in the first place and just throw it, because they believe in their head that the environment is called the Mother Earth. So it should be, it's a mother, it should be able to take care of itself. But again, now why this is a little bit, why government is still a little bit calm with all this is because there are options in other Niger Delta zone. If you get to my area, for example, despite the fact that there are spillage here and there, the people still have options. They can still drink clean water.
Where is that specifically?
In some parts of Ondo State. Now, in some part of River State, which is also the same waterway, in some part of Bayelsa State, people still have options. They can still see water. Now it's going to get to a point that if this thing continues, you are actually directly telling the IOCs that they do not need to do much about the environment, that you're going to shit them. Now, if it gets to a point that every oil producing state do not have options again, then it's going to be a huge demand on government, because at that point in time, either legally or illegally, they are going to shut down production.
We hope it doesn't come to
So
that, really. And talking about environment, it's not
reason.
just in the Niger Delta. The southeast is facing erosion that is threatening
And
livelihoods
continue to
there
hear,
too.
that brings us to the issue of budget. You know, we talked about...
Okay, we'll have to wrap it. Dr. John, thank you so much for joining us, leadership and communication consultant. We're also joined by Godwin Ojo of the Friends of the Earth. Thank you, gentlemen, for your time. Hopefully, government's attention has been drawn to the issue of Ogoni cleanup, and they will live up to expectation.